Boston Celtics should be terrified of the Milwaukee Bucks. Before Milwaukee moved on from Adrian Griffin, this was how a defensive possession would look for the Bucks. First, we see Schroeder blow by Beasley, forcing Lopez to help, leaving Jakob Poeltl open for an easy dunk. Breakdowns just like this were extremely common, as the biggest defensive problem the Bucks were having early was the way they were using Brook Lopez. On this play, Damian Lillard is trailing Dennis Schroeder, and instead of the usual drop coverage that we've been so used to seeing from Lopez, he goes to Schroeder, leaving yet again another open look for Jakob Poeltl on the roll. Now under Doc Rivers, Lopez is back in the drop coverage, and the Bucks defense is back as a result. On this play, the Joker flashes to the top of the three, giving Aaron Gordon space to drive the basketball. However, this time Lopez will stay back, forcing Gordon into a tough shot, which he blocks. Even in isolation, Brook Lopez is a monster against 90% of the league. This is supposed to be an easy 2 points for Kawhi Leonard, one of the game's premier mid-range scorers. However, Brook Lopez recovers to swat the shot. Lopez, being as good as he is on the defensive side of the ball, allows Giannis to roam free defensively, providing help defense all over the floor. Here the Nets attempt to attack the basket with a pick and roll. Once again, it's Dennis Schroeder as he makes a pass to Claxton. Once Dennis Schroeder makes a pass to Claxton, Giannis leaves his man to force a tough shot, but here he's able to block it. While on the offensive side of the ball, the pick and rolls between Dame and Giannis have been more frequent and more effective. On this play, Giannis sets the pick, and Dame rolls around to make the pass. Just look for a second how open the lane is for Giannis to drive. However, on this play, Zubac is able to slide his feet to get back into the picture, but it doesn't matter as a one-on-one matchup with Giannis in the paint isn't good enough, leading to an easy 2 points. Here, Lillard receives the ball from Giannis and begins his upward shooting motion, only to give the ball back to Giannis, who banks in the floater to beat the buzzer. With the playmaking ability from both Giannis and Dame, this pick and roll is going to be very hard to stop over the course of a 7-game series. The standard Bucks starting five of Lillard, Beasley, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez has been greatly effective, having a positive net rating of 16 points and boasting an offensive rating of 124.4 points, while they also have an effective field goal percentage of 61%. But this 5-man lineup has been just as good defensively, having a defensive rating of 108 points, as the improved defense of Malik Beasley and Damian Lillard under Doc Rivers has a lot to do with these numbers. Now let's talk Boston Celtics. For the Celtics, they have been so good so far this season, and if you only looked at the record of 2-1 against the Bucks this season, you'd think Boston is the better team. However, if you take a deeper dive, that might not be the case. In the first matchup back in November, the Bucks, still led by Adrian Griffin, were dominated in the first quarter, going down 17-29 after one. Boston would extend the lead out to 20 points, led by elite shot making and multiple defensive breakdowns on the part of the Bucks. However, in the final term, Milwaukee stormed back, led by Damian Lillard. However, the Bucks would still go on to lose by 3 points. In the second matchup, Milwaukee flipped the script, dominating from the jump. Dame and Giannis were hot early as Lillard made 2 quick threes, and Giannis dropped Jaylen Brown and then put an and one on Porzingis. Both Lillard and Giannis continued to attack Kristaps Porzingis whenever he was in the paint, and they were going downhill. And it worked, leading 38-75 at halftime, as the Celtics starters wouldn't even see another minute in the game in the second half. The third matchup wasn't a fully healthy one, as Giannis wouldn't play due to hamstring tendonitis. However, in the matchup, Jason Tatum came to play in the first half, bearing threes and getting to the cup. However, unlike the first game, the Bucks were actually in it early, but some costly turnovers allowed the Celtics to push the lead back out beyond 20 again. But yet again, the Celtics weren't able to hold the lead, as even without their best player in Giannis, Milwaukee still stormed back into the contest with a hot fourth quarter led by Middleton and some late game heroics by Bobby Portis, who scored 15 in the fourth. But just like the first game, the Bucks would go on to lose by 3 points again. With the Celtics and the Bucks most certainly finishing the 1 and 2 seeds, the postseason series between the two would likely take place in the conference finals. Of course, an issue for the Bucks in the series would be guarding Jason Tatum. Tatum is too good of a one-on-one scorer to stay home and not send help. But the problem is, when you do send help, virtually every player on the Celtics roster can hit an outside shot since the departure of Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. However, like the Brooklyn Nets series in 2021, I would stay home on Tatum, which would allow him to go off for 50 points any given night, but it wouldn't allow Derek White, Porzingis, and Holiday to make multiple threes. As when everybody's feeling it, that's when the Celtics are truly unbeatable. For the Celtics, they have a much worse problem, and that is stopping the Greek Freak. Trading for Kristaps Porzingis has made the Celtics offense much better, but defensively, Giannis and Dame have been hunting him driving to the basket. Sure, Porzingis is a great shot blocker, but he isn't a rim protector. Even with strong rim protectors like Rudy Gobert, once you make contact in the chest area, you can usually create enough separation to finish, but with Porzingis, it's even easier as he simply doesn't have the strength to deal with Giannis. If the Celtics can't contain Giannis in single coverage, then the doubles and the triple teams will start coming. This is exactly how the Bucks would want the series to play out, as Giannis is a great passer and will constantly make the right pass out to the abundance of perimeter shooters that the Bucks have. In the offseason, the Celtics traded their best 3 Giannis defenders, which were Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, and Grant Williams. Williams. Now you are left with Al Horford, Porzingis, and Luke Cornett. Milwaukee will be a tough series for any team in the league, but for the Celtics, they lack the size necessary to defend Giannis. The matchups that the Bucks and the Celtics have had so far this season showed us three key parts of the Bucks playstyle that make them a very different team than last season. First, the offense has been better, allowing them to come back into games when down 20 points at the beginning of a fourth quarter. Damian Lillard is a nightmare matchup for any guard in the NBA, and pairing him with Giannis is finally starting to look like what it should have been the whole time. Secondly, the defense is back in a big way for the Bucks, as the addition of Pat Bev has given them a much needed spark off the bench. Dame might be having a down offensive year, but this has been his best year on the defensive side of the ball, averaging a steal per game and actually having more total steals than Drew Holiday this season. And the final thing that separates the Bucks from last year to this year is how hungry the team is to win a title. Last season, most of the roster had been on the championship team, but now bringing in new guys like Dame, Pat Bev, and Jay Crowder who are desperate to win that title, it's given this team a newfound passion to get back on top. Do you think this Bucks team is better than the Celtics? And if so, can they beat Denver? Let us know in the comments below.